Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Uma Silbey. Uma is an author, musician, artist, and teacher. She is known for her pioneer work with crystals, stones, and tools for consciousness. She has pioneered energy information worldwide. Over 50 years of focused spiritual practice underlie Uma's 8 published books, jewelry designs, and music recordings. Okay, I'm not so great at introductions, as you know, but I
Well,
have
I'll say
here.
hi anyway.
Good. Yes, good.
Hi.
So this is beautiful woman in her work, which has everything to do with something that's very close to my heart: healing and spirituality. The connection of those two, although I don't see separation anyway. They are all together. But we'll be talking later on about the ultimate guide to emotional healing with crystals and stones. This is the latest book by Oma. So the full bio, her full bio will be at the end of this video. It's not,
Oh,
I didn't disclose everything, but there's a lot more to Uma in what she has done. So if you were to describe who you are in this moment, what would you say? Who is Uma in your own words?
well, ultimately, I would say just pure awareness,
Yeah.
you know.
Yes. That's simple, right, Uma?
What else to say? A lot of
Yeah.
the crystal working is connecting that pure awareness for lack of words. There really are no words. As soon
Yes.
as you
Yeah.
describe it, you create a duality. But it's about linking that and all the subtle bodies in the physical body and the earth and so forth. But there's a wholeness, but ultimately it's more space, for lack of any word.
Yes, yeah, I saw in your book you did mention space. Yeah, you said that. So, yeah, for the lack of a better word. And then when it comes to integrating or embodying what awareness, space, these described less, let's say, easiness, right, of everything, how,
Hmm.
what would that look like ultimately, Uma? Like when we are finally embodied, when the body mind is in alignment with that pure awareness.
I think when the body and mind is in alignment, you are in a state of just total relaxation. Not that you're going to
Yeah.
be a ragdoll, but
Yes. Yeah.
balance is relaxing. I mean, the two can be said to be one, really. So when you're balanced and relaxed and grounded into the earth, we are of the earth as well. I mean, our body, mind, you know. Um,
Yeah.
then we're connected. Then you bring that energy down. And in crystal work, that's what people say. Your crystals start talking to you. It's what that is.
And this is another fundamental question about crystals. What's the relationship between crystals, healing, and spirituality?
Oh, I think they're very intertwined. I think one big thing to know that speaks to this issue as you're doing your crystal healing, um, as soon as you say, I am doing this healing, you're way
Mm,
off track. We're setting the conditions and spirit heals. So that spirit and healing together. The whole thing is spiritual without using the words. You don't even have to
yeah,
think of it as that way.
right.
Then you get into what do you mean by spiritual? And then, that goes on and on. I think that's my last book in this series, actually.
Mm.
Spiritual work with crystals, but first things first.
Ah, ha, ha. Yes, first things first. I agree. Another question is the opening questions. They're part of that. Is how did you get to do this? What drove you?
Well, a couple things. First, I've always been interested in stones and rocks from, I don't know, as young as I can remember,
Yeah.
and I always felt things with them. And I don't know, if you wear this pink stone, you're going to feel happier. It's a good color for you. It's going to match you energetically. I
Yeah.
sort of always sort of did that. But actually, I was doing yoga and meditation like almost all day, all night. hardly had 2 sleeps. And
Yeah.
so at the time I wanted to pass that on. I mean, like, if you do a certain breath, your mind's going to calm down and you're going to be happier. Why wouldn't
Yes.
I want to share that? But at the time, which is the 70s or early 80s, you say the word yoga or meditation or breath work or whatever, you
Yes.
lose people. So, when I discovered the quartz crystal, when the whole thing opened, that was after years of working with yoga and meditation and energy. But anyway, my first crystal, I still have it. I picked it up
Wow.
and I could feel the vibration quite clearly, and
Yeah.
opened up in my mind's eye exactly how to work with them. And I went, aha, it's meditation and yoga, a lot of it, centering, breathing, but no one objects to a bright, shiny stone. In fact, the crystals attract you. So it was able to make that bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Never heard it that way, right? Nobody objects to a bright, shiny,
No,
happy.
people are
So,
attracted to bright, shiny things. I mean, there's no
yes.
way around it, you know? And it's a great way to help people, do a little bit to help in this world. Maybe we can be more relaxed. Maybe we can
Mm,
be more related to everyone and everything.
yes. Yeah. I love that. How humble you are too. I have an
Ah,
idea of how deep you went and how wise you are. But this is an interesting sign of wisdom, right? It's being humble.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that everybody, it's if you're open, that internal river of knowledge and information just flows through you. You want to
Right.
remove the impediments, and a lot of the work
Mm,
I talk about in my books, working with crystals, are recognizing those impediments and removing them. you know
yes. Yes.
and like I say again, we use our stones skillfully,
Yeah.
you know but we're facilitating an energetic change,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. And then, well, it goes back to what everyone knows. I know people don't object often to science, so it's very, you see that clearly. Most people are open to
Hmm.
hear anything that's scientific, but when it comes to spirituality, then some people will close their minds pretty fast. But there's
Yeah.
something that everyone agrees, I guess, the spiritual people who believe in, something spiritual or not.
Like, how do you feel when you go take a walk in the forest and you take a breath?
Yeah.
I would
Huh.
call that spiritual without using the word.
Right. So everything goes back to energy, right, Uma? So it's vibration, energy.
Yeah, at our essence, not space, but
Right.
do a couple steps in. At our essence, we are vibration. Everything vibrates in its own rate. When you work with crystals, you can actually learn to feel it, sense it. I mean, I have crystal balls all over my house,
I
actually,
can
but I
imagine.
can feel them across the room, and
Yes.
you
Yes.
sensitize yourself. And
Yes.
then you can work a vibrational change. And because they're interrelated, they're like this, right? So you make a vibrational change, it will make a physical, mental, emotional change in some way that's appropriate. Might not be what you think is the right way, but it
Ah,
will happen in a way that's appropriate.
yes. What do you
Yeah.
mean by appropriate? It's at the level of feelings.
Appropriate in that it would be the deepest, truest healing.
Yeah.
Um,
Huh.
Even
Yes.
dying. I mean, maybe that is the deepest healing at that moment.
Mm.
Someone letting go of our ideas of ourselves.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. I cannot think of anything more healing and deeper than that, right?
Yeah,
Letting go of
yeah.
identity. So yeah, going back to the power of crystals and stones, I was looking at your book, just going through the images. They're so beautiful. I know you just mentioned off record that
Thank you.
you took those pictures. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I do
They're
a lot of
so
photography as
ah
well.
yeah. I know you're an artist,
And
so I mentioned that before. Talk to me about your jewelry. I know you won't be doing this anymore soon, as of March, right, Uma?
Yeah, although my website will have things that I'll just sell
Yes.
off, but
Yeah.
making new, I cannot. Been 50 years and my hands and my neck and my back really aren't real happy about that anymore.
Right. Yes, you see, you're finally recognizing that. That's beautiful.
But, in the book you mentioned the pictures. I put
Yeah.
stone mandalas in there that
My
it
God.
would be the formation where you lay them on the body, and I describe where to do it. But the pictures,
Yes.
they're boring pictures if you have, 100 pictures of someone on their back getting stones laid on them. So instead, I laid the crystals as if they were on the body, but in a circle, right? A
Oh,
mandala.
yes, right.
We made the most beautiful mandalas.
Oh my
It
God,
was
love
like
mandalas
real
for
fun
some
to
reason.
do.
Yes, there's something about them. As you see, I have one back here, the flower of life. There's
Yeah,
something
I see.
about, yeah, sacred geometry, and for lately I've been attracted to them for no really specific
Hmm.
reason. Just I called and I just surrounded myself with them, and I don't know why. And I used to be into crystals too. I had them, and I was trying to work with them. And then at some point, it kind of moved on. It's interesting how it
Hmm.
evolves, right? On these things. Some people, for you, has been a calling, so you've been working with them. They are working with you too. It's just so beautiful that
Yeah.
relationship. But in my case, it was just really, it's just very temporary. It just they came and they,
Yeah. Well, maybe you learned what they had to teach you.
yes, right, like everything in life, right, Uma, with
Yeah.
relationships. That's how it
And I
works.
mean, ultimately, with the crystals,
Yeah,
this one I like an aqua aura. I love aqua aura.
yeah. Uh-huh.
But
Mm,
you become so sensitive as you work with them, you really don't even need them. You can visualize the crystal and have it do its energetic work. You can use the actual crystal, and it opens the centers in your palms. So you're working with that
yeah.
and fingers, and you can just go like that and
Wow.
have things happen. But
Yeah.
so, I mean, I'm not saying that crystals aren't worth having. They do make things easier, and they have color qualities, and each stone has its own sort of quality which you learn to sense, you know.
Yes. Wow. It's it's something that I learned even deeper when I was doing Reiki. I remember
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Uh-huh.
Reiki a healer, she had so many of them, those crystals, gigantic ones, and I
Yeah.
felt the energy immediately as I walked in that room.
Yeah.
So I remember that how powerful they are. And she always, of course, they are. I think Reiki healers, right? I know you're not. Are you? You're not a Reiki healer as well?
Well, Reiki healers will work with energy.
Yeah.
Intention. Yeah. I work with a lot of Reiki healers. They're all very attracted to the jewelry and the
Yeah.
stones. But,
Yeah.
the jewelry, I mean, I was a retired yogini. I was going to go up to a cave in the Himalayas and never come back.
uh,
But
uh,
instead, through a long series of events, I ended up, as I was with the crystals, I said, well, I'll make jewelry because, say, if you want to wear a crystal on your heart chakra, you can't
yeah.
just hold it there all day. But if you wear a 24-inch chain, it goes right over that heart chakra. If you're big, maybe a 26 or 27-inch. A
Yeah.
choker goes on your throat chakra.
Yeah.
Earrings work on your forehead, the two sides of your brain,
Ah.
and all of them work here.
Wow.
Crystal bracelets and rings deal with the energy channels, from your hands and out, your arms out your hands, which connect. You were talking sacred geometry. When
Yes.
you work with these energy patterns, it's a pattern in the body. There's definitely a pattern. And
Ah.
what you do, one of the things you can do is there are energy patterns that when they're open, then the physicalness will tend to heal in that way.
Yeah.
But so you're reestablishing channels. Like, say, if I know there should be one here, but I feel it doesn't go past the wrist, say, then
Right.
I know we have to open these in the hands,
Wow.
and there's ways to do that,
Yes. How amazing.
So it's all pattern. When the type of yoga I was doing was Kundalini yoga, and sometimes they call that the yoga of angles. If you don't have the angles right in the way that you're
Mm,
sitting, it's just not going to work very well, you know.
right.
So I think that what we see in mandalas outdoors replicate in our bodies. So I think when you use the crystals, it doesn't surprise me they make beautiful mandalas.
Yes. Oh my God, I had one. I remember. I don't know. I didn't see that on your website, but I remember I had a blue one. I was attracted very much to the color blue,
Oh
and she made
yeah.
it for me, like similar to this, but all crystals. And I left in
Yeah,
New York when
nice.
I left New York. So you are in
Ah,
Maui in Hawaii. So that's good to know too
yeah.
for the audience who is because as of now I'm like thinking to myself, oh, I wish you're closer to me. I would be there in a second. But you're far away. We're in Florida.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
am.
talk to me about your music. Are you still writing? I know you're a Grammy nominated musician. That's amazing.
Well, I was nominated for the nomination, so,
Yeah.
you get down to a few, and then you get down to the 6, and then you get
Yeah.
1. But, yeah,
Yes.
for 2 of my albums. I was raised as a classical musician, actually, a pianist.
Ah. Hmm.
Did that for years, and anyway, um, so over the years, I've been playing a lot of meditation music.
Yeah.
It bridges nicely from classical. If you listen to a lot of my pictures or my albums, you'll hear a little bit of Mozart and a little,
Ah.
But anyway, so I started working with keyboard and voice and gongs and bells and
Yeah.
all of these instruments. I play tamboras and ektars and Indian
Yeah.
dronal instruments, but I use my voice and sound a lot for healing, and it works great with crystals. So it was really natural to me to start making albums. My first ones, meditation music, was really new.
Yes.
Um,
Wow.
but I like doing it. I love being in the studio, and all
Yeah.
my music, I try to open the heart to go up in the heavens, but come back in the heart. Some music's vocals, some instrumental, some have both.
Yes. It's beautiful. I listened to some of it. I think one song that you have on your website, I did listen to that.
Yeah, and it's on the streaming platforms, and I've got stuff on YouTube, and yeah.
That's good that we can find that there. I interviewed recently, speaking of music and crystals, you probably heard about her, Ashana. I'm not sure if you heard about her name is
I know her by
Ashana.
name. I'm not familiar
Yeah.
with her.
Right. So I interviewed her recently, and she said that it was a calling for her to kind of bring crystals into her music. Was a musician, but then she was doing singing bowls, I believe. Yes,
Oh,
singing
yeah,
bowls. And
uh-huh.
now she has crystal ones, like big ones,
Yeah.
small ones, all colors. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
really amazed by that. So the combination of crystals and music.
Oh, yeah, they're quite complementary.
Yeah,
Look at the shamanic practices. You may
right,
use your stones, but you're drumming,
right.
or you're doing sound and you're activating that stone and then sending it, where it needs to go. There's so many ways to work with sound and breath.
Ah,
I talk
right.
about a lot of that in the book, particularly breath.
Your book, it's so comprehensive. I mean, it's rich in every way. Has everything that you can think of. You're so detailed, very, very generous with your teachings, with passing that on. The instructions are so clear.
Yeah, I feel it's kind of a calling to pass it on.
Yes,
You
right.
really should. People passed it to me.
Right. Yeah. I felt that. That's really what we need to I mean, what the vision that we wanted to kind of see in this reality, more of this transmission of wisdom, of timeless wisdom, of
Yeah,
spirituality, of
yeah,
peace, right? We needed to give that away.
yeah. The other thing I tried to do was when you talk about emotions, there's there's surface emotions, and they pass fairly easily if they're painful and you don't like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are some that are persistent. You get
Mm,
depressed a lot, you get angry a lot. So then so much of the ways of working with stones, oh, you want to open your heart, plop a rose quartz on your heart, it's all good. Well, maybe for surface emotions, but beneath those are one others that support those.
right.
Underneath that, another layer, and you go down,
Uh,
you go down.
mm.
until you come to these core
Yeah.
important wounds that you made decisions that are affecting your life. M- maybe your parents divorced, and so then, and they were fighting a lot. And as a little tiny infant, the fighting, these are your primary caretakers, that you
Yeah.
need them.
Yeah.
So you figure out they're fighting and leaving, it has to do with you,
Right.
because you're not going to make them bad and wrong. That's too dangerous. I mean, emotionally speaking. So you make it about you. Something's wrong with me.
Right.
Then you're an adult and you're too shy to make friends and you still think something's wrong with me. Then you overcompensate by being someone who has to do everything right and you're always winning every game and it's very stressful, but you have to disprove that voice wrong. And then you have anxiety and depression because you're doing that. So when you're working with your crystals, you work maybe first with the anxiety and depression, then you get there and you get there and you get to that decision you made that something was wrong with you. And then you go back to that original event and you can reframe it and you can look at the you can learn a lot. But you have to do it very skillfully and
Right.
gently. And the
Mm.
book tells you exactly how to do that, what stones to use, everything from what your space should look like. You know, I'm a licensed, counselor.
Yeah, as well. Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. Uh, Science and spirituality. That's the yeah, the harmony. Are you bringing those two together in
Hmm.
one mind? How
Hmm.
beautiful. Yes. So this platform is basically I created for that reason, just to give voice of what to emotional healing and spiritual awareness or spiritual growth. So
Nice.
this is
Yeah.
exactly what we explore here. And wow,
Perfect.
emotions, that's an interesting, it's a tough one for most of us, right? To understand them, to embrace them,
Yeah.
to be open to them, and especially going
Hmm.
deeper into them, which has been my curiosity for as long as I can remember, due to childhood abuse. So that
Yeah.
just informed my entire childhood. As a young adult, I was just really mired and very constrained, depressed. I mean, all kinds of um, negative, let's say, making choices that were not good for my body. Mind was just,
Mm.
I would say, lost. I was very
Yeah.
confused. And that's really sad, right, Uma? Then some of us go through that and we don't find a way
Mm.
out. Because I have seen some adults around me, my family members still, and my husband's family members, that they're still dwelling in this space of pain and
Yeah.
suffering. They have not
Yeah.
found a way out. So here you are presenting another modality, another way of healing
Yeah.
ourselves.
And ways that are, simple. I
Yeah,
mean, they may take concentration and, but they're not difficult, you
right.
know, particularly as you become more sensitive. But I think most healers have a background of pain
Mm,
because if everything's all hunky
yeah.
dory, hey,
Yes.
life is good, you don't, it's harder to go deeper, you
Yes.
know? So I
Yes.
think that when we have pain in our past, we
Yeah.
become emotional experts because we're very emotional. We may be experts at squashing them. We may be experts in drowning in them or annoying people by telling them over and over about how bad you are or whatever. But
Right. Right.
um, we're healers, and that has actually served us as painful as it was, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. I like to hear that. Yes, a billion times to that. So I used to kind of push away all these, let's say, my past of
Yeah.
pain. I used to kind of try to ignore, not to tell anybody.
Yeah, but you can't ignore it because it
No.
lodges in your
Right.
body. You have repetitive thoughts that are, annoying at best,
Right. Exactly.
but we do try to push it down because it's painful and it hurts.
Yeah, right. It's almost like natural to do that, right? To avoid
Yeah.
pain. So going back to the instructions you give, they're very clear to me. If I were to do this,
Good.
it's so clear. But the question I have, I guess, is what to expect throughout the process. Is there something that we get to see the emotions kind of that we are trying to uncover and heal? Do we get to feel them again, or they're just uncovered by in visions in our dreams? How do we actually know when it's working?
Well, when it's working, you'll be happier.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, to make a long story short. But when you're working with someone else and you're in tune with them, which crystals will help you do, and I think I even have an attunement ceremony. I may have. It's something about attunement. When you're attuned to somebody, then you can feel their emotions shift as you're working
Ah.
with them. You feel
Yeah.
maybe a little lightening. Some people feel it in their bodies, some people just
Yes.
intuit it, but say someone's having a breakthrough that you're working with it, you feel it like, ah, you know. And you have such a safe space and are so safe as a person for them. They're able to re experience, with the help of the crystals,
Yeah.
they're able to re experience these deep, painful emotions that are really hard to experience. But it's like a comforting, safe space. And I talk about how to do that. With yourself, I think you just notice you're more relaxed, your jaw's not as tense, you're more in the flow. I
Right.
mean, ultimately, you're in the flow, you're not blocked, you know. But it's really good if you're working with core emotions to work with someone who can be
Ah.
your sounding board, who can help
Right.
facilitate. I have a lot of guided meditations in there. If you read it for yourself, it'll work to some degree, especially
Yeah.
if you allow yourself to feel these things. But listening to it is even better because then you can just relax and open more.
Right.
And someone working with you, like if I'm working with someone and I'm having them, envision something, they go through it, then I'll feel, oh, their abdomen there is really
Yeah.
tight. Something's going on. And I may put a yellow stone, a soft yellow on it, or my hand lightly, or about that much over, and just say breathe and have them shift their breathing there and relax the small of your back. And
Ah.
then I ask them, what's going on? Do you feel something? Do you see something? Relax, So that's helpful to have someone guiding you.
Yes. Yes. I love that idea too. But I guess the question that I want to ask is that if your book is for everyone, it's not just for practitioners, right? Not
No, I
it's
try
for
to
anyone.
make it,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So that's good to know. Let me see the notes that I made because I have lots of notes. See, I love the way in the book you say, I believe this is about crystals helping us with healing, emotional healing specifically. At heart, you say all that exists is essentially space, as you mentioned earlier, you too. A
Oh, I do say
limitless
that, yes.
a limitless space before awareness and beingness. This state cannot be mentally understood or explained, as it has no form, no beginning, nor end. As manifestation comes into being from the formless state, it expresses itself as vibration. So that caught my
Hmm.
attention, especially I highlighted the part of space, limitless awareness. I wonder if we came to that realization, if we could heal ourselves, because it has been my experience, the deeper I go into the realization, understanding, felt understanding of that
Hmm.
awareness, it feels like the emotions, the core emotions, the really tough ones, they loosen up, they become, it's easier for me to work with them.
Yeah, they lose some charge.
Yes, yes.
The areas in your bodies, from the etheric to the physical, they're clenched and, holding these
Yeah.
things. When you sort of are in that spacious awareness, your body tends to align.
And relax.
Especially if
Yeah.
you breathe. And
Yeah.
as you align, some of these things that were tied to misalignment will release. And when you are in a place of spaciousness, it's like the
Mm,
ultimate feeling of safety. I mean, it doesn't even come up to question if it's safe. You're safe
yes.
because I think it gives you a certain perspective of yourself that you take yourself a little more lightly.
Yes, that's it. And it's almost like that brief glimpse understanding that we are not the body and the mind, that there's
Yeah.
right, there's something that ultimately what we are, it's something beyond the body mind, or perhaps what the body mind is in it. It's
Yeah.
actually right.
Yeah. Well, when you work with the stones,
Yeah.
at least I tell people how to do this. I'm aligned, I'm grounded into the earth, and then I'm aligned up in the
Mm.
heavens, for lack of words. Yeah. And information comes and expresses itself. I take no credit for it. It just
Um,
comes through. And so that's the more you can just be aware, not be anything. You're
yeah.
not being something. You're just no words, but you can be in that space. And I talk a lot about that in the book, and I give meditations and practices you can do to expand your awareness.
Yeah.
But and it's not at that point, it's not a you doing that, it's not even a question, but that comes through, and then it comes through your crystals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then speaking of that, I did ask you this question off record. So it goes through the crystals, everything. The crystals are actually absorbing energy.
They absorb, they magnify, they help transmit,
Um,
transmute. They're pretty adaptable.
yes, we have to clean them, right, Uma? And a question that I didn't ask before was about because I have a pendulum, and that's a neutral pendulum. So because I
Hmm.
heard that it doesn't absorb any energies, it just releases
Oh,
everything.
yes, it will. If it's a
Oh,
stone
it
or a
does?
crystal,
Oh,
absolutely. I mean, it's not moving 24/7, you
right.
know.
It is, I think, acrylic. I think the one I have.
Oh, acrylic. Acrylic won't absorb like quartz. No.
Right,
Uh-uh.
right.
Then you're dealing with visually, it's pretty, yeah. And
Yes,
you're
right.
probably dealing with rainbows and stuff, but no, it has to
Yeah,
be quartz crystal or a gemstone, any stone. Uh, Takes in energy, sends out.
right.
Quartz is probably the best overall clear quartz. You can
Yeah,
program it with thought, with feeling, with color, and it will act as if it is that. You can use it to clear. I mean, it's just so much you can do with it.
yes.
And I do talk about this in this book and the one before, The Ultimate Guide to Crystals and Stones. That gives
Yeah.
the basic crystal information from ground up. And then this follows with the emotional healing, because thought and emotion are so intertwined, you
True.
know. And it could be argued that all emotions are a function of thought, but I do think it goes both ways.
You do. Do you see a difference between feelings and emotions? Are they different from your
Feelings
perspective?
and emotions, I use it interchangeably. I mean, there's a physical feeling and there's an
Mm,
emotional feeling, but emotions and feelings,
similar.
yeah, I use them interchangeably. I mean, you could nitpick it and
Yes, right, right. Yes. I don't know why I asked the question, but sometimes have asked
well,
that
people
question.
do ask me that question
They
actually.
do, yeah, about the
Yeah.
difference. I made a note here about the goal. So the goal for doing the work with your book, The Ultimate Guide to Emotional Healing with Crystals and Stones, is to become a master emotional healer without crystals and stones, with the our meaning the ones that are personally aligned with us. So
Hmm.
I love that because that's what we need to cross that bridge. The more emotionally, let's say, healed we become, the more it seems to me like it opens up clarity. There's something about clarity.
Mm.
The mind becomes so much
Yes.
clearer for the big picture, right, Oma? So we can
Yeah.
see the big picture of what this is, which we call
Because your
life.
mind's more relaxed, the thoughts are slower. They're not
Yeah.
that. And the more spaciousness if then you have you in your mind, the more spaciousness you will have in your thoughts, and your emotions are tight, so you'll have emotional spaciousness as well.
Uh,
Yeah, they're very tight.
More room to accommodate different emotions. That's what I feel a
Hmm.
lot of times. I feel the emotions here, but it doesn't have the energetic charge, so I don't really
Right,
react or respond upon them. I just let them come and
right,
go. Oh, I see them; they're just here, but I don't really
right,
have to do
right.
anything.
And, I wanted to add one more thing about the book. I didn't just write it for crystal healers and emotional healer. I wrote it to kind of for everybody. And I
Yeah.
try to make it as clearly expressed as possible. And it's really for anyone who's curious about stones and emotional healing. If you're already an emotional healer, this is one more thing for your toolkit, you know?
Yes, is another. I think you call it beautifully. You say tools of consciousness, right? That's what
Yeah,
the
yeah.
term you use. And speaking of consciousness, do you define consciousness in the same way? I think I asked you earlier about spirituality. You mentioned, oh, who are you? And you said awareness. Is consciousness the same thing? Would you say the same about consciousness?
This gets very tricky.
Yeah.
You can be conscious of being aware, but to be conscious, then you go, well, oh, I am aware. And then I would say, who is the I am? What are you
Mm,
referring to? Not the body, the mind, and that goes, what's this I? And then you circle back to I am, just awareness.
mm.
Who's aware of I am? So it's a meditation you can do. But I'm
Yeah.
always intrigued by those questions. I've always been intrigued by um, what is the ultimate reality and how do we experience that? And also about emotions. I've always been invested in emotional transformation. Yeah.
Yes. Beautifully said. In a way, it's almost like a consciousness. It's just being aware, is aware of itself,
Well, if you're aware of yourself, there's still duality. There's still a someone being aware.
of
So
something.
when you
Yeah.
are pure awareness, there's no one being aware. There is awareness. And that's where we get, most
Yeah.
of the time we refer to me, I,
Yes.
as our body mind almost entirely. So it's like we change our point of reference. It's not the
Yes.
body mind goes away and becomes a gray nothingness, not at all.
Right.
But I think we hold it within more spaciousness. And if nothing else, we become more forgiving of ourselves and others. And
It's almost like existence, experiencing, existing. So everything is in it. Nothing separate
yeah,
from
it's
it.
a
So
great
it's
way to
like,
blow your mind, actually, these meditations.
I love that.
After a while, you just give
I
up. There's
love
no explaining it.
right because you can't right. The more we try to explain, the more funny it
The
becomes. Right.
more you get a big knot in your mind.
Uh yes. And the more
And then
intellectual
you
we
go,
become,
oh, well, I
yeah,
give up.
that's true. That's so true.
I'm just going to be.
So I wanted to, yeah, I love that too. I just want to be, huh? That's what a lot of times we talk on the podcast to hear. What is being? What is just to
Hmm.
be? And then we explore that too. What is just to be
Yeah.
here? To be here. I love the quotes though. Speaking of that too, I got so many notes here. I love the way you say that about being here. Yeah, you said no matter where you are, we are always here now. Be here. That just
Hmm.
caught my attention because that's a powerful way of almost trying to explain that. Right? Be here. Who are
Yeah.
you? I'm here. Just be here. Stay here. Don't
Yeah.
go
I
elsewhere.
have a lot of contemplation sentences like that that are
Yeah.
meditations in themselves. And they also
Right.
sum up what I had been talking about in each chapter. But I love those
Yes.
one or two liners that you really have to, that you can contemplate. They're very
Yeah.
interesting to me.
I have a whole page here with them.
Oh, yeah.
I love them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I love poetry. I always put poems in my books. This one just has one at the end. One of
Ah.
my favorites.
Yes, you'll be reciting that. That's for sure. I
I
have it here
will.
too
Oh,
as a
I'll have to
note.
find it.
So I want to mention that the book is I mean, it's beautiful just to look at it. That's how I start. I love art. So when I look
Oh,
at
yeah.
the cover, I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. You just want
And
to
the
just look at
pictures.
it.
I
Yeah,
try
the
to give the
picture's
feeling of
amazing.
the stones in the pictures.
Yes, you can feel the energy. Oh, I can when I look at them.
Yeah,
And they are
that's the idea.
and you disclose so many kinds. I mean, the exploration you have done is amazing because there's so many types of stones and crystals that I never heard about, that I never knew
Oh, yeah.
existed.
Endless.
So many of them.
I mean, ultimately, you want to train yourself so you can pick up any stone and you know exactly how to use it in that moment, whether you
Yeah.
know the name of it or not. And that's the kind of sensitivity you get. I was working
Yeah.
with a Native American medicine man, and he would just pick a rock up,
Yeah.
and then he would do these incredible healings. So I learned a lot from him.
So in a way, it's a transmission again. We're just kind of it's almost like passing that energy that's here, that's not ours, of course. It's just
Hmm.
flowing and then just going through other things. And that's what happens when you meet some people. That
Yeah,
there's something about them that you look at them and their presence alone, it just does
yeah,
something to you, right? So healing. You feel good,
yeah,
feel
yeah.
happier.
It's an
Yeah.
energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I talk about this is always very important whenever you're doing any energy work and particularly healing work, is how
Yeah.
important it is to stay grounded into the earth. That's like, if I use the
Yeah.
analogy, if you have a tree and it's got high branches, it's going to fall over unless it also has deep roots or a lot of roots spread wide like redwood
Yeah.
trees. But you need that balance. So, it's so important to be grounded, and I talk about that a lot, and I give people easy ways to be grounded. And stones, I divide the stones into certain, you know categories. Like, these are your grounding stones, these are your heart stones, here's what you should have in your beginning emotional healing kit, and I lay it all out.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
know
You're very clear, very organized, for better for lack.
yeah, I
But
try to be.
yeah, and very generous though. I see how generous you are too of giving, very clear, precise information about how to work with the stones and the crystals on their own. So that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Uma, for being you, for being
You're
open.
welcome.
Yeah, that's truly beautiful. So I want to mention that you have everything. So preparation, how to prepare yourself with meditation, then how to prepare the crystals. You talk about creating a safe space, which you mentioned before, and then having a healing intention. And then you talk about the body mind connection, the placebo effect, which that's very interesting.
Which is
Oh,
real.
yeah, yeah. Actually, talk to me for a moment about that. I would love for the audience to know about the placebo effect.
Well, I have a story about that that's very funny. They always used to put me on TV with geologists who would say I was nuts. And this one guy said, "But it's only placebo effect." And I
uh,
said, "But isn't that interesting that you can use a crystal to skillfully manipulate the placebo effect?" Yeah.
right.
Yeah, nothing to say. But what is the placebo effect? If you have a belief something will happen, it will tend to happen. Well, our thoughts are powerful, that being one clear example. And so
Yeah,
part of crystal
yeah,
working, the stone does things, there's definite subtle energy shifts going on, and there is placebo effect. If you expect that the healing will work, it will work a lot better than if you,
mm,
this isn't going to work, and then you're
yeah,
actively resisting it, and you can't re-knit those energetic pathways.
yes,
There's ways to get around it, sound being one. People tend to relax and open with sound, whether it's drumming in a certain rhythm or certain tones, open certain areas of the body.
yeah.
But
Wow,
so placebo effect is real. It shouldn't be dismissed, but you can use that.
right.
And it's like visualization. You're creating thought forms. Your brain does not know the difference between what you visualize and what's, quote, real. It's all real to your brain.
Yes, true. That kind of it's fascinating to me that by having this information, it would be in a way we should be open to it, kind of harness this positive thinking and kind of trying to be more open, to life and things like this, to love, peace, healing. But for some reason that we already have an idea where it's coming from, there's something in us that resists, right? Oh my.
Yeah, because we are afraid of pain, and there is emotional pain. We don't
Yeah.
like pain. We will do a lot to avoid pain. It's a natural reaction. And that's where relaxing and breathing and visualization and all these ways help cushion you and protect you and nurture you so you can explore the
Mm,
pain, at your own pace. I don't recommend rushing any of it, and you want to do a lot of breathing into it, and loosening the emotional knots.
Yes, I love
And you
that.
can do that with your crystal. I tell people how to pull out and
Ah, yeah.
move over, how to send in.
Yes. I mean, the book is amazing. I'll go back to it. I know I used to dance with crystals before, but then for some reason
Oh,
they
nice.
let me go or I let them go. So now you brought me that back, that curiosity again, or the desire to
Oh,
be
nice.
around them. I immediately went online and was trying to look for the one that caught my attention the most for some reason is the rose quartz.
Oh, rose quartz. Yeah, well, that's a heartstone, and
Right.
it helps open the heart chakra. It's also very relaxing. It's like, it's a relaxing stone. Um, if you want to warm something just a little, like say they've got their throat blocked.
Yeah.
Normally you would think, oh, I'm going to use a turquoise blue stone, but maybe that block feels like this. So you sort of rub energetically a rose quartz and it might go, and then you use your blue stone.
Yes. Ah,
But rose quartz, you would be attracted. You're very loving. So that's a
yes.
good
Oh,
stone.
thank you.
It also can be used to protect your heart chakra as well. So you're not openly open all the time. That's unbalanced. You want some shielding.
Yes. Yeah, that's interesting. That it kind of your guide guided me to that. And then
Mhm.
I thought, okay,
Yeah.
I'll get one. So we're almost at the end. I want to mention also some
Oh,
of the quotes. Oh my God, I love the quotes in your book. I have so many here. I'll mention some of them. The ones that caught my attention immediately. There's another one that you say, I don't think it was a quote, but it caught my attention. You said, completely listening to another means that you must listen without judging them in any way. Non-judgmental and complete listening is emotionally healing just in itself.
hmm,
That kind of stopped me because a lot of times I was just thinking about my husband. That it's not easy not to come from a place of constructed ideas about the person.
hmm,
I always have this meditation. I have this, let's say, it's almost like a mantra to just be open throughout the day and see people who are
hmm.
familiar to me, but in a more, um, let's say, spacious and like a, uh, yeah, without any mental construct, without any
Yeah.
ideas.
Just
It's not
drop
easy.
the judging mind for a bit.
Yes.
You can take it up
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Keep trying.
But, when you really listen to someone, you just get what they're saying. You don't make any decisions or judgments, or, it may react places in your body, or you might just notice that. Bring your
Yeah.
attention back to the listening. And very, very few people really listen to another, you know. And that is like, it's an amazing thing to have someone just listen
Yeah.
to you.
Hmm.
You know? Doesn't mean you go through life like a doormat, but you have that as a skill, you
Yes.
know?
I guess what gets in the way for me is trying too hard to, like in the case of my husband, because it's very close to me, kind of trying to pass on to him some of the stuff that I have learned for myself about healing, spirituality, and people that I talk all the time. I talk about, with beautiful people like yourself all the time. So
Oh,
they always
yeah.
transmit something to me. So I go straight to him. And then a lot of
Yeah.
time he's not open to it. And he's like, and
Yeah, well, you
yeah,
must breathe and wait
yeah,
until he is feeling more open. Yeah.
right.
Um, my sweetheart likes YouTube, and, trying to interrupt a YouTube when he's got earphones, it's just not gonna happen. You're gonna
No,
feel very unsatisfied,
right,
like, "I
right.
don't think he heard me. He said yes, but"
Yes,
So, that is something to accept, you know?
yes. To be open to, right? Hmm. Yes.
Yeah, it's a dance. It is definitely a dance.
Yeah. Wow. Fascinating one. Also, when you say you are separate from your emotions, that stopped me too, because I kind of have this understanding that we're not separate from anything. But I guess we are separate from our emotions, are we?
Very high level, no, we're not separate from anything.
Hmm.
But when you're having an intense emotion, say you're like, "Ah," it's like you are that anger. There is no separation
Mm,
between you and the anger. And one way to realize, you might picture yourself up there watching this. I mean, you don't want
yes.
to do, there's issues with that too, but you want to notice, who is it that's angry? That's a great question to ask. Who is it that's angry right now?
Right.
I am. Who am I? And that's a really good way to work with that. You don't want to check out, you want to honor that emotion because it is expressing something probably that's out of balance. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's helpful to have some perspective when you go to work with an emotion. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
a good
I
one.
like that. It's almost like keeping the first step, kind of distancing yourself, right, from whatever's happening.
Yeah, I mean, you can still feel it, you still are in touch with it, but you are also observing it, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Of course. It's just that for some reason it caught my attention because I there's the mantra again about we are not separate from anything, and then I hear
Yeah.
you saying that, oh, we are separate from our emotions, but I know, of course, the context is different. Yeah. And then when you say it is all imagined, that caught my attention too. Yes.
Mhm.
And then you said emotional changes can never be forced, they must be allowed, as you mentioned
Yeah, that's so
earlier.
important.
Yeah, be allowed. And then you say the ability to hear the crystal is what underlines successful crystal healing work. So the ability to listen
Mhm.
to them, which you just thought we talked about here, but here you use hear and not listening.
Yeah, there's a inner hearing. It's sort of like a strong intuitive sense.
Yeah,
It's like people say, my crystals talk to me. Well, yeah, and you hear it, but it's at a whole different level. It's nonverbal, you know.
right. It's more intuitive. Would you say it's more?
Yeah. But
Yes.
see, that alone is a
Mm,
meditation. It's like, how do we hear? Where do I hear? And
mm,
focus on that hearing. And then who is it that hears? The ears are doing something, but there is
mm.
someone who hears.
Yes. Ah, yes. Wow. What's not to love about all this? What is
Oh, yeah,
not to
what's not
love?
to love?
And you say, as you hear others, you will also be healed. That caught my attention too. That's true. Doing the work
Yes.
of healing, we are just, by trying to heal others, we are healing ourselves. So you're
Yeah.
passing on that message, which
Yes.
is true. It's another one that's true.
Yeah.
So the very end. Let me see if I made more notes. Yes, I did. Oh my God, your book. We'll talk for hours about your book because I made so many notes here. So you have many interesting sections in there. Crystal visualization to release negative emotions that caught my attention. You also have crystal
Mhm.
layouts, beautiful ones. The mandala is one of them.
Yeah. Every meditation has a layout with it, or I do it the other way around. I may
Yeah.
talk about the stones. Here's a layout. Here's what you can do. Here's some visualization with it. And yeah.
Yes, it's so clear. I
And
mean,
here's something to contemplate.
you did such a beautiful job, yeah, with this book. Amazing
Oh,
job.
I'm really happy you enjoy it. I work really a lot on the words I use because words have an overt meaning, but they have underlying meanings and things
Yes.
they suggest. And so I'm really careful with how I express it. And I like having a certain rhythm, you know,
Yes. Oh, you're an artist, of course.
people
Yeah.
to feel loved and open and, all those good feelings.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
amazing, Oma. Yeah. Thank you again for being you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we say
Mm.
goodbye for today, please, I want to hear the healing prayer. I have it there in front of me here. So I would love for
Oh,
you to
well,
recite.
if
Yeah.
you have it in front of you, that doesn't do me any good. I'll
Oh,
go to
true.
it in the book. I love this poem. Let's see. Ah, here it is. Oh, and I love that picture. How's that for a crystal picture?
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
Okay. It's a healing prayer. May golden healing light from the most high heavenly spirit pour through your crown center to fill your heart with petals of wisdom that flower in the heart of your being. May you be healed.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It sounds like also a guided meditation, right? A prayer, but a guided meditation.
Yeah, you could easily make that into a guided meditation.
Yes,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
So again, thank you so much for your presence in our reality, in our shared
You're
reality.
welcome. It was
And
my pleasure. I
uh,
really enjoyed talking with you. This is great.
yeah, it has been amazing. Your presence, your knowledge, everything that the wisdom, it's just so enriching. And it's interesting when you
No,
think,
thank you.
isn't it interesting? Because a lot of times we think that we can learn, something else from, even if I knew, I mean, enough about crystals. It's just this today, this
Uh-huh.
conversation just opened up my mind a lot more in the heart. That's amazing how we never get to experience enough, I guess, of these things of healing and
Yeah,
spirituality. Right, Oma?
yeah.
So with that,
Great.
is the best website to find more information about you and your books and the jewelries. I know you're still selling them for now. umasilby.com. Is that the best place?
Yeah, umasilby.com. And, you know, I have things on YouTube and I have podcasts out. You know, I'm very
Yeah.
unorganized with this. It's like, it's a lot. So they're
Yeah.
all out there someplace. So I would go on my website and I'd go on YouTube. That's usually a good place.
Yes.
And check the music streaming, you know.
Ah, yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. There's so many good ones I really enjoy still.
So I'll have the link, the YouTube link, and your website will be on this
Oh,
podcast
thank you.
profile.
Yeah.
So before we say
Yeah.
goodbye for today, I have to ask you this ending question. What
Ah.
three, yeah, I always have these ending questions. What three experiences you wish everyone to have before they lose the body, before they die?
Ah. Total peace, total joy,
Yeah.
and endless realization.
Mm, yes. Endless. I love that too.
Yeah.
Endless.
Why not?
Yes, right. Thank you so much again, Uma, for being you. We'll
Thank
talk
you.
soon.
And
Bye for now.